chairperson or chairwoman if you want. With me, do you guys want to introduce Gavin?
Gavin, Hioday.
John Hioday. Emil Hioday.
And Jennifer there. That's Anne. Cool. First proposition, who's first and what pronoun do you move?
Nicole first, Sam second, both are she.
First opposition.
Dan
Who's first?
first.
Karen, I don't mind.
Second proposition.
Also.
Second opposition.
Stefan speaking first, don't mind or hear.
Okay, welcome everyone to the quarterfinal of 2014's Euros. In first proposition, we have a team of Tel Aviv A. In first opposition, we have Lion A. In government, we have Tilbury House A. And in the closing opposition, Belgrade B. Everything for the speeches will be as expected. There's loads of you guys. So I know you want to show support for your teams, but mostly if you express that support by making noise, we'll miss the smart arguments that you want to cheer for. So if you can keep your argument, your shouting and applause to at the end of the speeches, between the speeches, as opposed to during the speeches, that'll be swell. Cool. All right. If there's no questions, you guys ready to go? Okay. Then without further ado, best of luck to all of you, and I call the Prime Minister to open the case to stand today.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the floor. We say that today in our society we have a problem of consumers that are not aware of their own actions, that are not informed that when they purchase some products they cause active harm to animals that big part of our society knows that they feel, suffer, and that they're treated very badly in this industry. So we say that today companies, their only interest is to have the benefit, the financial benefit, and they don't have the opposing side of considering the feeling of the same animals. So we basically say that from now on, every product that contains leather or experiences that are being imposed on animals, and of course any food that contains parts of animals, etc., will be labeled with image that is true to the process of the manufacturing, if it's the experience that is being treated, or not yet, or if it's the status of the animal while doing while doing the same product. So we say that this company will be fined with a very big fine, and if after several times they will still be doing this, they will be forbidden from having the same product in the market. Before I go on, yes.
Does this include medicines as well?
Yes, we say that it includes medicine as well, and I will explain why in medicine it won't work the same way. So, first I will talk about why the consumer today is not informed, and we have the obligation as the state to have our consumers informed of their action. And secondly, why the image will make the difference, and why it won't harm people that want to save their own lives or their children's life, of course, and so on. So, about the first argument, why is the consumer not informed today? We say that the nature of the market, the nature of selling things in order to get money is to have the consumer with me, right? To attract him to my own product. So we say that every product is being produced in a very nice way, right? Even if I buy a chicken that was slaughtered right before in the field, I can see him in a very nice package with nylon, very sanitary and very no veins, no hair, and any kind of things that remind me of the fact that this thing was alive a few hours or few weeks ago, right? And maybe I will have even a smiling chicken on the package, or a happy cow, right? A free chicken. So we say that this encourages the person to disconnect from the fact that by buying this product, he actively donate to the same actions. Okay? So we say that we need the person to be informed by the fact that when he's buying the product, he causes misery to those animals, which in other cases he would probably go and see in the animal park, right, and give them food and maybe even talk to them, some of us. So we say that he causes suffering and blood and etc. So we say that part of the population, we're not saying that everyone will stop buying meat right now. We don't think that we have the burden to prove that this is the right lifestyle, right? But we say that part of the population, when it will understand that this is his active part, he will consume less of the same product, and by this will have two major effects. First, the population that will still consume the product will be aware of the fact that their money is donated to the same cause, okay? And maybe it will cause them to be more interested in the same processes. So even if I decided that it's okay for me to kill chicken in order to be happy in my lunchtime, okay? Still, maybe I will influence the same companies to be less aggressive towards the same animals, and will lobby it in a political power, right? And secondly, we say that possibly I will just consume less of the same product, right? Because the fact that people consume more and more encourages the same company to have this hideous way of acting to animals, okay? We say that as a state, we have the obligation to prevent those companies to take advantage of the lack of knowledge those the consumers have, okay? Because we say that for example, if we know that Nike encourages sweatshops in order to have in order to have their products, we say that the people should know that their money is going in order to have active sweatshops, okay? And we say that, as you see, the people are still not enough informed because those sweatshops are still existing, right? So we say that if on any box of Nike shoes we would see the miserable boy with his fingers cut off, maybe people would have acted more severely in order to prevent those kinds of actions. Before I go on, second.
People know what happens during the procedure of making an iPhone. How many people in this room and world still uses Apple and don't care?
Great, this is our case exactly, because we say that if you put the picture of the same misery of the person that is being harmed by this, we of course part of us won't buy this iPhone, right? The sensitive part of the people in here, right? So why does the image make the difference? And this also answers her. So first we say it activates some kind of emotional thing that we have inside, right? Because we say that every decision in our life is also composed by our emotions, not only our understanding. So we say that if in the ordinary world I have compassion towards animals, I should also consider it when I buy the pretty package in the supermarket, right? Secondly, we say it creates a response that is immediate, right? It's not like I have to read an article and understand the facts, and I should make an effort in order to do so. It really reflects my emotion immediately when I take the package from the refrigerator in the supermarket. Thirdly, we say that it's inherently connected to things that are bad in our society, because death is bad, blood is bad, suffering is bad also. So we say that it really gathers in one image worth thousands of words, right? We say that in one look you can see what you're doing by buying the thing. And we say that those people can't really look aside. Why? Because first, it's everywhere around me, right? On my jacket, on my cosmetics, in my refrigerator, etc. And secondly, it shocks me. And before it shocks me, it makes me interested. What is these horrible things? Exactly like we look when there's a car accident to see what happened. We will look and we will understand the implications of our actions because of this we oppose.
I'd like to thank that speaker for a fine speech and call on the Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, the vegetarian half of opening opposition is going to tell you that meat is murder, that we need to find out in which way we best ensure that a good discussion that is reached. We don't think that's the policy for the proposition. So what I'm going to do to you is two things. Firstly, I'm going to tell you, or for you, first I'm going to tell you why this will be a counterproductive policy, why people will actively resist this and why we'll therefore no longer lead it. But also, in that, why it will crowd out currently effective consumer advocacy programs. Secondly, I'm going to tell you why it leads to unjust and wrong forms of discussion, why sometimes it is okay to consume products in which animals die, but why we tell you that this policy leads to an unequal form of discussion on that. Before that, a couple of responses. Firstly, they haven't shown a need for this policy. We tell you that advocacy programs are highly effective in tackling the worst forms of animal cruelty. We understand, for instance, that lots of debates about cruelty are shown sometimes by graphic depictions, other times by appealing to common emotion, sometimes by appealing to things like animal abuse and things that's bad. And that's been highly effective in making sure that regulations exist, very strenuous regulations, for instance, on medicine testing to ensure that animals have as good life as possible. What we're going to tell you moreover that is that exactly those kind of activities are hurt by their case, but they haven't shown a need for us. But secondly, we think it's going to be an ineffective policy. Why is that? They need to explain to us not only that the government can set a law, but also that the law will be defended in exactly the right way to win. What we think is that if they're correct and people produce less of that product, that means that companies have a massive incentive to reduce the visuality of these imagery. What will they do therefore? They will go and sue for libel cases in many, of course, across the world. We understand, for instance, they will go to the UK when libel has very high bars for themselves in terms, for instance, precedents on to make libel case. They have massive millions in their pockets. They have a history of suing when they're unjustly represented. What does that mean? That means that you don't get animal cruelty or animal suffering. You get a cow standing there and not very much more, because that is what is realistically happening in these productions. It is the very worst part of animal cruelty, because those things are already illegal by law, and those products are already on the market. That reduces the viscerality and emotion, therefore the effect of that. The second reason why it reduces the effect of that is that they can, for instance, sue towards like common decency laws. So we see, for instance, horrific imageries. There are watersheds on that. They aren't going to be seen in public spaces. So they have to, for instance, put a plastic package on it, and that plastic package can be removed back home, and they see maybe the image for 2-3 seconds if those kind of laws go through. That means you don't get an immediate emotional impact. You just strip it away to get rid of the plastic package. There's no effect on that. They need to prove why that won't happen, given that these companies have precedent in legal systems and massive amount of money at their advantage compared to their case. So in that way, they won't get their benefit. But even if they will, we're going to tell you why it's wrong. So why will this be counterproductive? We have a couple of reasons. The first reason is we think this leads to a normalization of terrible imagery. The analogy we draw here is the idea that in Australia, they have a massive package of like destroyed lungs on smoking cigarettes, and people nowadays don't seem to be turned at. Why is that? When we tell you the psychological process of seeing something being bludgeoned at you time and time again means you switch off to that idea that is really bad, or you find it to be normalized that is bad. You don't consciously think about that. And specifically true is just imagery, right? Because other things that are far more visually emotive, like smell, like hearing things, those are the things that are discounted by this kind of policy. Just seeing image, it's quite easy to get over to it, and that's why you kind of normalize the fact. What does that mean? People will no longer consider it on their side of the house. So you have a lesson on that benefit. But secondly, we think it can be actively harmful in that. Because what we see is that the incidental use of images can still be shocking, right? So if advocacy programs like PETA or Greenpeace use bags of dead animals and that then shocks people. That then leads to actual discussion. That then makes it far more likely that people go against animal cruelty because it's the incidentalness that makes it far more shocking. More than that, we think that those kind of advocacies are the things we need to support far more, and make far more likely, because they then make it sure that you can go to their website and read about it, and read about read about the bad things to do, and create actual concrete advocacy policies on that. So you need to get the buy-in for these kind of activism. What will companies do? They will likely direct you to a website where they tell you, well, yeah, we use animals, we use them really well, we treat them really well. McDonald's uses it already. It has moms that they get into McDonald's farms and tell them, look at how nice we do for the animals, look at how good our meat is. And that way they actively make it less likely that anti-animal activism are correct in that instance. So in that way, we just don't think it will be effective. No, thank you. But finally, we think it will be counterproductive because we think if people are correct, if they are correct, and people see this incredibly emotionally bad or something like that, they get the feeling that these packages tell them we are a bad person. The number one reason why vegetarians are really bad at convincing non-vegetarians to stop eating meat is because when I tell you you are a murderer, you seem to think I don't think I'm a murderer. I think I'm actually a good person, so they react very heavily against that. So they think that these packages may be wrong. They feel that they may be victimized by government policy that they simply don't agree with. In that instance, they might actually think these packages aren't really worthless in that. So we think in that case, it is really bad to do that. Closing?
Most people agree eating meat if it's produced in a very nice way. So the cows have basically a happy life. When they are shot, killed, then it's not under a situation of stress. Don't you think that you can prevent, you can support those systems with this policy?
I think we can support a system in our side of the house. I'm going to tell you why in my next point. So let's start with that. What we think, Madam Speaker, is that their policy requires the same kind of pictures to be placed on every kind of product. What we understand is that there are different kind of meat products with different kind of effects on animals. Some of them are neutered, some of them aren't neutered. However, given the fact that you get these kind of depictions on every product, it means consumers can't make a choice where they trade off these kind of products. It is the case that animal cruelty is bad, but then it's bad to varying degrees, and there are worse kind of forms. You lose out on discussion on that because you now create a dichotomy in your system of meat is bad and the rest is good. So in that way, people won't be able to make effective consumer changes on what kind of meat they want. But more than that, we think these emotive forms of discussions crowd out other decision making, and we think other decision making are important. We think, for instance, you might make reasonable arguments as you say that animal testing is important because it doesn't hurt that much animals. For instance, 80% of all tests are done on fruit flies who don't have conscious or emotional appeal, but that it saves enormous amount of human lives. We think, however, that animal cruelty as visible imagery isn't as easy to take on as other things like improving the welfare of human beings or human life some way. Like that images aren't as emotional, or they aren't seen at the same time as the animal imagery. So that means that their emotionality becomes the main factor of which the societies are decided. We don't understand why there is a decision to be made on. We might, for instance, utilitarian trade-offs between the well-being of a few animals and the well-being of a massive amount of human beings. Why is that a legitimate concern? We have no response. For all these reasons, Madam Speaker, we don't think it's going to really be effective. We actually think it's going to be worse, and that is why we oppose.
Madam Speaker, honorable judges, thank you for the floor. I have 4 points of refutation that as a vegan, I'm very happy to present in this debate. Okay? First thing, we heard that we didn't give any problem, right? Why is this this motion actually necessary in our society. This does not engage at all with the analysis presented to you by my partner, talking about how the incentives that private companies have today to make their work more efficient, to gain more money, to produce more meat products as fast as possible, actually gives them an incentive to, you know what, say, hell with regulations, who cares, as long as they have enough burgers to sell on my company, and about the fact that the public isn't actually aware of everything that's going on in these areas. We explained to you specifically how the images and the packaging of these products today prevent us and actually cause a disconnection between what we're consuming de facto and what actually it used to be, or what it was. We think that when you're hungry, for example, and you just open this pack of chicken, right, you don't put into consideration all the thought of the process that was in it. You also do not bother to read these small messages like, this thing used to be alive, right? You don't do that when you're hungry. You just stuff it in the microwave. We think that this is bad. Second thing, we heard this idea about people getting disconnected because they're seeing this bad image again and again and again. And to that we say several things. First of all, some might disconnect, some might not. People act differently, and even if we get some people on our side of the table, it's good enough, we think, to implement this policy, and I'll explain further on why. Second thing we see, it's not likely, because we see today we have a lot of pictures coming from war sites, for example. We see people dying on the battlefield, and we don't think that people today don't care or don't want to act on to stopping war and to prevent it. People are still getting horrified. No. So the third thing I want to say about this dichotomy perception that we're going to have, that meat is bad, right, and everything else is good, and this will interfere with our ability to make our decision, like the previous speaker claimed. We're saying that this is in tension with his own example about how seeing the lungs of people who smoke don't really stop everybody from smoking, but we're saying some is good enough in our side. But last thing I want to say is that even if people will still consume the same amount of meat and the same amount of leather products, the moment we make sure that they make this decision out of full consciousness, when they're fully aware of the meaning of the action that they're taking, this is good enough on our side of the table to take this debate. So first thing I'm going to talk about, my first point, is actually the importance of these images, and why choosing to consume meat or leather or anything that involves animal products is actually a moral decision. And moral decisions, dear panel, you base on your emotions. Why is that? Because it's not enough that you just have rules that tell you that something is right, that something is wrong. For you to support these rules, for you to understand or to accept these rules, for you to decide what is the best action for you, this is something that comes from within. You feel inside within your guts that what you are doing now is okay or is not okay. And that is how you decide if you want to do something or you don't want to do something, when we're talking about things that you don't have a law against, right? For example, if I really feel like telling my friend how well he did in the last round when I judged him, I'm telling to myself, you know what? No, this isn't moral. This will ruin the competition. Even if nobody will catch me, even if I can't change my decision, this is still something wrong that I feel bad about doing, right? And we're saying that because there is so much cruelty within these actions of producing animal product, okay, because you create extensively amount of suffering, because it's actually not even necessary all the time to consume these products, the choice to consume them is a moral decision. Am I willing to take upon myself the suffering and the pain that I am causing to other creatures, to other living creatures who have feelings, who have emotion, who have family feeling between members of the same family. The problem is, like we said, that again, the package, the advertisement of these products today detaches us from the from our feelings towards these processes, towards this damage that we're causing. And we're saying that for me as an individual to make the right moral decision, I need to make sure that I know actually what is going on. I need to feel it from inside. That is why so many people turn vegan, not when you tell them that that meat is murder, like the previous speaker, but when they see the horrible images on the Gary Yourofsky lecture, for example, because it shocks them, because they understand the full extent of their decisions. So, bottom line to this argument, we're saying that for me to, as an individual in our society, to make the moral decision, the proper moral decision for me, even if I choose to continue to consume these products, at least I know that I'm willing to take upon myself what I'm causing while doing so. That is why we have an obligation to make sure that people actually understand and feel from inside the full extent of what they're doing. Before I'll explain why it's justified to cause this trouble, so-called, and engage with the previous speaker, I'll take closing.
If this is a moral decision, could explain to us, how is it moral at all to cause suffering to another living creature?
We're saying that the debate about vegetarianism or vegan, right, is a debate that is not yet decided, right? We're not 100% sure if we need to consume meat in order to be healthy or if we don't need. For example, if we need certain products to do drugs or we don't need them. We see that there's a continuing debate about it. We see we have studies to go both ways. That is why we're saying as long as this exists in our society, we need to make sure we do it the easiest way possible, the less cruel way of possible. That is why we're not arguing on our side of the table. We don't need to convince you that everybody must turn vegan now. Personally, I think yes, but not in this specific debate, right? So, let's go on to my last argument. I want to talk why is it justified to cause this trouble, right, to the public and upset them, like the previous speaker told us. We're saying, ladies and gentlemen, hearing the truth is hard, especially when it's non-consensus, right? If you take a look at a long time ago, telling people that, you know what, women should be able to write, women should be engaged in politics, that sounded outrageous. That pissed a lot of people off hearing these things. But you know what, they needed to be said. We're saying the same thing here. It's very easy for myself as an individual to disconnect myself from a situation, to make excuses. No, I must have this meat in order to be healthy. No, the process is not that bad. For example, we're saying hard truths need to be put out there, out in the open, out loud, everywhere around me, for it not to be something that I can ignore. If I can look the other way, Madam Speaker, if it's easy for me to turn my eyes blind and not really understand and perceive what is going on, this is exactly the point when I no longer am making the right and the moral decision that is proper for me. Madam Speaker, dear panel, we beg you to propose this motion and to help our citizens make the right moral and practical decision for their lives. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the speaker for a fine speech and call on the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, I'm very happy to concede a big chunk of their case. We agree that animal suffering is horrible. We think that more people should probably eat organic food than food that's produced in the bio-industry. We think that it would be a good thing if more people would turn vegetarian. We think it would be a good thing if within production lines less animals were suffering. They never explained or engaged with any of the harms Dan pointed out on how that would happen under their policy. The only thing they say, people should take moral decisions. We agree. We're going to tell you why moral decisions sometimes mean that it is okay to sacrifice certain harms in order to save other people and save other creatures. The second thing I'm going to tell you is why we think that this is going to lead to a less nuanced discourse on animal suffering, and why therefore it's going to be harder for example, the organic industry to promote themselves, and we're going to favor where they're actively going to favor the bio-industry over that. 2 points of rebuttal that don't quite fit into that. The first thing she says is we need to have a very, very emotional response, because that means that I internalize a neutral discussion and a neutral view on why those things are bad. That's not true, right? And the example she gives with it is that when I saw a lecture with visual images, it turned me vegan. A lecture presumably gives you more information than this one picture of an animal dying. We think that they are actively going to limit the amount of information people are getting. Why? Dan already explained to you that in the status quo, organizations like PETA and Greenpeace are very good at running active campaigns that show visual images of animal suffering. When I see that, I also see their website on which I can get more information. They are going to crowd out these images by having those images all over the place. That means that I now no longer am attached to this image because I'm shocked by it, because I can see it on the corner of the street on every package of food that I ever want to buy. That means it is less likely that I will find that website that's going to truly and neutrally inform me on what animal suffering is and why animal suffering is horrible and why animal suffering is bad. They're not going to lead to a neutral discussion. They're going to crowd out any discussion whatsoever because people become desensitive to what is happening, and we think that that is horrible. Okay, why do we then think that sometimes it's okay to make sacrifices on a certain ground in order to save other things? Recognize, Madam Speaker, that we already make sacrifices often, right? When we go to war, we are willing to sacrifice certain people, we're willing to put people at risk in order to save our country or in order to fight for freedom and things like that. What we are saying is that loads of animal cruelty, and animal suffering in the way that they want to depict it in terms of animals dying, happens within medicine testing. We think medicine testing is extremely important in order to keep the human population healthy and safe. Why are they going to hinder the ability for that to do it? Because if we take their case at their best and we say, well, maybe they're right and we're now all going to be horribly shocked by those images, that is actively harmful, right? Because that means that when I'm horribly shocked by that images that are on my medicine package, I'm less likely to be willing to take that medication because I'm now conscious, I now need to ask myself, is my life worth more than the life of that animal? We think that is problematic. Why is that problematic? Because the consensus in society is still that yes, your life is more. That means that other people will continue to tell you that medication is good. I'll talk about that more when I talk about why this is going to lead to less nuanced discussion. But even if it means that that is not going to happen, that means society is going to push forward for less animal testing. That means that we're going to have less effective ways in which we can test medication. That means that we're going to be less likely to now, for example, create medication in order to, save people from the Ebola outbreak in Africa because we can't test it on animals anymore. That means that the only way, if they are against animal suffering, that means that the only thing we can still test it on is on other human beings. We think that is horrible because that prevents steps in the way in which you can make medication work. We think that that is something that they needed to engage with, especially given that it was already pointed out in the POI. Closing.
Wasn't your team just that those images create normalization? I don't care anymore. So how come that's how medicine harm actually occurs?
Okay, well, I'm not quite sure whether you've been listening because my team, we agreed that either it creates normalizations, and there are a ton of reasons on why that is bad, and if it doesn't create normalizations, these are other reasons on why that is bad. That's not contradictory, that's true on both sides of the house. So why is this then going to create a less nuanced discussion on what animal suffering is? A, because we think that in general society, the general consensus is that eating meat is okay, and meat can be tasty, and meat can be flavorful. The problem now is that the worst thing that happens in meat production is an animal dying. That is the same, the procedure in which we kill animals is the same for organic meat as it is for meat from the bio industry. That means that both those packages will contain the same kinds of images. That means that it is harder for the organic industry to then promote that they are treating animals better. But especially because we're no longer able to find out that information anywhere because we're so emotionally involved according to opening government, that means that we're less likely to engage in a discussion about how that will work. But we also think the discussion is going to become less nuanced on another ground. Because when you hear society telling you that when we have the same pictures of animal suffering on medication and on food, and we hear people telling you, oh, but that kind of animal suffering is not that bad, but on food it is. We can't distinguish those two things, right? Because we have the exact same picture on both of them. That makes it harder for people, and especially for younger people and for children, to have that nuanced idea of why it is sometimes okay to make sacrifices, but also why it is more okay to eat organic food and why it is more okay to use medication than it is okay to use leather and okay to eat any other kind of food. We think that this nuanced discussion is important because that is going to lead to the information that they want people to have about animal cruelty, and that is going to lead to people being able to make moral decisions. Because a moral decision is not to simply follow the leader, right? Because your leader might be wrong. A moral decision can only be made when you have full information. They are crowding out this full information by their visual images if those visual images would work the way an opening government tells you they are working. Madam Speaker, in opening opposition, we've been telling you multiple things. We've been telling you that we think that this is not going to lead to, and that we don't think that this is going to be effective because of normalization and things that Dan tells you. But even even if opening governments are right, we think that the harms that they create are much worse, and we're not going to prevent any kind of animal cruelty. We're going to make it more likely that more animal cruelty is happening because we want to stop animal cruelty. But we also think that sometimes, suffering is worth it because other causes are more important. We're very proud to stand in opposition.
Madam Speaker, 2 points of extension from clothing government. First of all, I'm going to go into the idea of why companies in the status quo have a massive incentives to prevent consumers from making an informed decision. And secondly, I'm going to go into the idea of why the point of sale is actually the right way for consumers, the right instrument for consumers to make an informed decision and decide whether we are willing to sacrifice some form of animal suffering in that specific case. First of all, some points of rebuttal. The whole claim of opening opposition rests upon the fact that consumers, due to this policy, will now be unable to differentiate between different degrees of suffering between different forms of products. That is fundamentally flawed. They name meat production as an example and say, well, then under our policy, like the picture on every meat product will look the same. That is fundamentally wrong, right? The degree of suffering that an animal has to undergo within meat production hugely suffers. Let me give you an example. Chicken production, right? If the chicken box is very tiny and the chicken can't even turn around, it's reasonable to assume that it suffers more than a chicken which is raised in a box that is bigger and can grow. So it is possible therefore within the same product for there to be different images, so the consumer is actually able to differentiate between different degrees of suffering that a human being is. Secondly, they say, well, won't the consumer just be get used to the idea of shocking images and won't that be bad? Well, if it's possible to differentiate within pictures between different degrees of harm to suffering, even if the consumer in some degree becomes used to the idea of shocking images, it is still far more likely that if there's one product with a picture that is very cruel and another picture which shows less suffering to human beings, that the consumer then will choose the product with less suffering. Therefore, we're saying, even if it's true that there is some form of normalization, it is still a good idea to do this policy. No, thank you. Let's look firstly into the idea of why companies in the status quo have a massive incentive to prevent consumers from making an informed decision. Well, in the status quo, usually using animal testing is something that companies have done for a long time. To change their way of production would be massively, lead to the fact that they would have to do massive investments to find out new ways. That's why they're in the status quo not inclined to do that. They want to save that money and rather have that as profit. In the status quo, therefore, they have massive incentives to confuse the consumer on what the production of their product actually is. That's why companies create different kind of labels to purposefully confuse the consumer, right? So there's 10 times of ecologically friendly product labels which lead to the fact that the consumer can't really differentiate between a label that is done by Peter or a label that is done by the meat production. That purposefully confuses the consumer and prevents him to make an informed decision. Even if there were one label, still, first of all, the companies had a massive incentive to put pressure on the government to lobby them to decrease the burden of what that label actually means, on what you need to do to get that label. And even if that were not the case, they still have a massive incentive to put out information to undermine that label, so therefore to also prevent consumers from making an informed decision. How does this policy change it? It massively simplifies the way that you can access information about the degree of suffering that is happening. It happens, the kind of information you access is at the point of sale, right? You don't have to do research on your computer beforehand. You don't have to read all these booklets from Peter to find out what different degrees there are between products, right? That is also, it touches you upon an emotional level rather than just on an abstract intellectual level where you have to do a lot of reading. We are saying this policy does enable consumers to differentiate between different degrees of suffering when it comes to animals, and therefore enable them to make a better decision. Closing.
How can one single picture, which is made with a goal for producing a visceral reaction, provide enough information to consumers?
Well, of course, the more information you have, the better it is. But if you see two different pictures, one depicting it with more suffering than the other, it says, even if it's not a fully informed decision, at least it is a decision that includes more information than in the status quo, therefore it's clearly beneficial. Let's look secondly into the idea of how to create a public discourse and how to enable the consumer to decide whether it is justified to sacrifice some form of or to accept some form of animal testing or animal suffering, and how to enable them to do that, right? Opening government says, well, consumers are often have a lack of information. We say that is true, but the problem goes much deeper than that. Why is that? Well, because on a subconscious level, people who consume, for example, cosmetics, right? They have some form of idea that there might be some animal suffering going on, but they don't have an incentive, or they are not really willing to get the information. Why? Because it's very unpleasant, right? The more information you have, the more likely it is that you have to change your own behavior, right? And therefore, it's like a rational form of being uninformed, right? You willingly decide not to access that information because you don't want to change your behavior, you don't want that unpleasant thing to happen. What we are doing with this policy is enabling, or actually rather incentivizing people not to ignore information that is out there, right? Why does that lead to better decisions, right? We are robbing them of the opportunity to make a decision in which they don't take animal rights or animal suffering into consideration. Why is that good? It is good because it leads to a more nuanced and more informed decision, right? If it's true what opening opposition is saying, that in some forms it is okay to sacrifice animal rights, right? We acknowledge that probably if the more information you have about animal suffering, there's probably going to be a better discourse, right? If for Ebola medicine it is a necessity to infringe upon the rights of animals, probably people are going to say, if that's the only way that exists today, we are fine with that, right? If for cosmetics, right, something that is not as needed as Ebola medicine, right, people will be less willing to accept animal suffering, right? So within that discourse, it is much more likely that people are now, due to the fact that they have to deal with the different degrees of suffering that animals have to go to, having a discourse in which they, based on an informed, on more information, based on information, are able to decide whether they are okay with accepting suffering in this case, or whether they are not. We are saying that leads to a better discourse, to more informed decision, and also more moral decisions, because moral decisions depend on the fact that you have all the information and that you're forced to deal with the information that is out there. So what we brought to you in closing government is, first of all, that the problem in the status quo is that there are massive incentives for companies to prevent consumers from making informed decisions, and secondly, that this policy leads to a better discourse because it forces people to take information into consideration, which under the status quo they willfully decide not to consider, therefore vote closing of government.
Madam Chair, as the only non-vegetarian on our bench today, I'm going to bite the bullet. Recognize that side prop wants to reduce animal suffering. The unstated premise of that is that we should care about animals. The unstated premise of that point is that animals have rights to begin with. We're going to deal with that, and when we deal with that, we're going to say that even if they have rights, it is not acceptable to weigh out rights of living beings who are moral actors out on a utilitarian calculus. You simply can't do that. Two, we're going to talk about suffering. Before that, rebuttal. So one, they tell us, if this leads to less people consuming meat, recognize that meat has some nutrients which, true, you can gain through vegetarian food, but on a comparative, vegetarian food is more expensive. That means that if you have a utilitarian calculus there, Meat will be less accessible to people who are less affluent and who are poor. Now the problem with that is that you're denying them of the ability to gain some nutrients which are very important to them, which leads to them being worse off in the long run. What we want to claim, and we'll prove on extension, is that the rights of humans are far more important. Then they tell us, yes, but when you have a strong reaction to this, that you will have a strong reaction, therefore make less of that, and make less consuming meat. We disagree with this. We tell you that people have a stronger reaction to suffering at the moment when they have a personal bond with the being that is suffering. When you only see a picture of an animal that is killed, you don't necessarily know the context. You don't necessarily create a bond with that killed animal. That's why stories of one human that had suffered in war, how their house was destroyed, how they were torn away from their home, creates a far stronger reaction than thousands of individuals killed. That's why the most important story about the Taliban in Pakistan was the story of a little girl who was attacked by them, not stories of thousands of people who suffered. Then they tell us it's a moral decision. One, we tell you, morality is not necessarily dependent on information. It's dependent on your feelings of what is right and what is wrong. You can perfectly well make that decision based on your gut. But the main issue is, if it's a moral decision, then how is it moral to take lives of animals in the first place? No explaining on that. And lastly, the precondition of this is that those people could think that animal suffering is bad. Then closing tells us, yes, but consumers don't want to get informed. We tell you that presumably they'll try not to get informed in the first place, so they'll think that the animal they see on the package is not the one that was killed, precisely as Leiden tells you. But even if that's not true, this creates a perverse incentive for companies. Why? Recognize that the probably most painful way of giving the death penalty to people in the US is the lethal injection. It creates a huge amount of suffering. Often it takes more than 15 minutes for these individuals to die. But what is the issue? It looks far cleaner. It looks far nicer to us. So this only gives an incentive to those companies to invest in ways of animal suffering which could plausibly be much worse off for those animals. Say, seeing a cow that's electrocuted looks less bad than seeing a cow that was butchered or shot in the head by a bullet. But the shot by getting butchered on a comparison is less painful because it lasts, so it's not ideal on either side of the house. But what we tell you is that animals suffer more on their side because now companies only have an incentive to invest in that kind of thing. So animal rights. What we tell you is that rights of humans should be far more respected. Why do we tell you that? Because we tell you that a precondition of morality and being considered a moral actor is twofold. One, you need to be aware about the rights that you have as a living being. And two, you need to be able to respect the rights of others. Animals fail at both of those criteria. Now, the usual answer to that is the argument for marginal cases, babies and people with mental disabilities. To babies, we say that we still afford them rights because they will become moral actors at one moment in their lives. So we need to respect their rights as moral actors because they will become so. Two, when it comes to people who suffer mentally to the extent that they are unable to function in life, we tell you that this is often suffering to keep those people alive, and we will be perfectly happy with things such as euthanasia on our side of the house. The impact of that is that we think that human rights of people are far more important. Now let's imagine even what they said is true, and that animals have rights. To that our reply is, why don't you ban the killing of animals? If you want to say that's unrealistic to happen, our reply is, this policy is equally unrealistic. But why is this important? Because we tell you, if that a certain being has the right, and that is the premise of their case, that animals have rights, okay? Then you can't see them as means to an end. You can't say we will lead to less animals being killed. If they have rights, every single life of an animal is valuable in itself, and you can't value less animals getting killed. Each one of these animals is a means in itself rather than means to an end, your end being less animals killed. If I'm a reasonably healthy person, it would not be okay to kill me just to harvest my organs and save lives of 20 people who could need those organs. The same logic applies here. Opening.
Okay, since what we are arguing for is for informed consumers, the Greenpeace solution that your side is supporting actually has an agenda to turn you vegan. That's why I'm more likely to differentiate myself from them. Only these photos will be objectively portray the reality because companies won't show them
already heard a lot of reasons as to why those photos will not necessarily provoke an objective reaction. 2, there's only a certain amount of information that one photo can portray to you. It can't explain to you how did that animal live until the moment it was slaughtered. A lot of things remain unexplained, and as I already pointed out, you only see the animal killed. You don't see how painful that killing was. That's something an image can't convey to you. But what's the bigger problem? 1, it creates a feeling for a lot of people that the problem is solved and that you can finally get away with it. 2, it can't convey suffering accurately enough, as I already said. 3, people get used to seeing those images, and the reactions they have in the future are far less intensive because they often see that. But most importantly, a lot of them get even more alienated from the animal rights movement. Why? Because they often feel that those people are you're out of order, are trying to come to them from a moral high ground, that they are better than them only because they're vegetarians or vegans. This alienates the animal rights movement from these individuals even more. It makes it far harder for you to convey the message, which is the one that Side Props wants to convey. Because at the moment when you force onto people, onto their eyes, you're immoral for doing this, they are less likely to engage in rational discussion with you. Very proud to oppose.
Madam Speaker, what the opposition really tries not to see here, that the picture has to reflect the production process of the specific product. So if the production process was in a good way, so the cow lived a happy life, you can actually see this, right? That's the point here. And if the production was cruel, you see the most cruel image. That's reasonable. That's what we say here. Okay, what the theme line was like, what we brought on you from Closing Gov was saying like we want to make an informed decision. Why? We say a moral decision to make here is just something you have to do very personal, and therefore you have to be informed. And suffering is just understandable when you are informed in a picture, right? And we show you why this is very necessary. And then they said, okay, the Closing Gov came up, like, if you have rights, why can you kill? Like, animal rights are like different than human rights. You have certain degrees of rights, so it's very easy to say like animals have rights, but we still have the right to kill them. I see no contradiction in that because it's a certain standard in a country. And then they said, okay, like people feel bad now because like that will alienate the movement, right? No, it's very easy. You can now, like, if you feel bad about it, just buy the product which is nicely produced. Buy the organic food, right? That's actually way better here, right? Okay, and then they come with this whole medicine point. We think that's a ridiculous claim because notice the product is the picture is going to be on the product and not on the R&D research process, right? So if I have animal testing in the process of developing this product, right, it will be in the end. So if I'm dying on Ebola, I'm probably give you links like, okay, this animal died, like the rat died, but I'm probably more important, so I still can make this trade-off, right? It will still need yeah, traders an African kid, he's gonna really care about rats, right? Okay, why are those pictures important? Why is this? And this really clashes most of the opening up, right? So first of all, there's 4 reasons why those pictures are important. First off, abstract of labels. Labels are very abstract. I cannot understand what meat just means. I don't see how this is killed, and that's very important. So just reading meat or pork or something doesn't give me anything, right? Second of all, simplification. Suffering, I can very likely understand, because if I see someone suffering, I probably like, okay, that's probably very bad. But if I just write about it, right, then it's really like, I don't know. And so if I probably, for example, have a product like lipstick, I mean, like animal testing doesn't mean anything to me. But I see maybe the monkey, like living in its scale, like really bad, but probably can get the process, what's so bad about it, right? Third of all, like different harms are very easier to explain with this, right? So if you have different harms, you have different products, right? So for example, in some production, meat production, often the problem is how we kill the animal, that they are under a lot of stress. We can show this, right? So that's very, very good. Third of all, no, thank you. Empathy as a visual concept, right? So to understand suffering, it's very easy. Like it's very hard to like what's suffering mean? I'm feeling personal stress. How do I understand like personal stress of somebody else? I have to feel. I have to empathize. How do I empathize? Visually. That's the easiest way to visually to empathize. Therefore, it's very strong. It's a very good way to do so. And why is this so important? As my partner had pointed out, like usually the very crucial point. If I want to sell a product as a company, I want to create a positive emotion at the point of sale. So even they said like people don't really understand this and they will like they don't care about this picture anymore, right? But even it's just enough to look a second on this and feel bad, which will lead me to say like, yeah, I'm not going this product, I buy this product with a happy image. That's the point here. Like buying a product is a very emotional thing. We think that's very good. So what does it give actually? And why is our mechanism so good here? That's why, because it gives an incentive, no thank you, it gives an incentive to companies to finally care about their production process, to like break this chain, saying like, okay, we're probably gonna do less animal testing if it's not necessary, right? We're gonna do like, no thank you, we're gonna do less animal like suffrage in the meat production process, and that's very, very important here.
Okay.
Next one, no thank you. So what have my partner shown you explicitly? So we showed you that it's a more, no thank you, it's a more informed process, and that will need to two things: better decision of the consumer, and actually a better public discourse, which is desperately needed in a lot of countries, right? That's what we bring you. Okay. So, most consumers don't care. Why do they don't care? So people don't like to be mentally challenged usually. Like, they just walk around and just want to have a happy life. No, thank you, right? So they're like, and if I really want to like pursue this, like, and then I really want to care about like what's happening, I really have to do a lot of effort. So that's why people still buy iPhones, because they just ignore it. They have a rational ignorance because they just wanted to feel good about being an iPhone. They want this hipster guy with the iPhone being sexy. That's what they want. Okay, right. So what's changing here? Right? So what's the difference now, right? So even those people, like who's still gonna be like those who just described, right? What they have a benefit now. So they just get a picture which can really show you a lot in a short amount of time. And it's only like you don't have to like even so you don't understand like the whole industry doesn't work or the medicine industry work. But I see the suffering, and suffering is something on a picture very well understandable for me. Opening.
So if your case is correct, this emotional picture will mean that people are more influenced by vegetarianism decision, therefore crowding out arguments about the importance of medicine and nutrition. So why is vegetarianism more important than those things?
Well, okay, coming to this later on. Okay, just give me some time. Okay, okay. So first of all, so those are when they have an internet because they don't know how to do it, and people like going to Patreon, all this stuff takes a lot of time, right? Okay, so that's why they have like an easy concept to go. Second of all, those people who might change their image and like say like, okay, maybe I have seen this so often now, I'm probably gonna do some research. How does this work? We like say that's actually a good example of smoking with the pictures, right? So I mean, like the smoking example does like the difference on the smoking example is some are addicted, so they will just start smoking. But why those pictures on smoking are very effective is preventing people from start smoking. Why? They see this image and now, okay, that's what I'm going to, so making the suffering very understandable. Or secondly, I'm just going to do some research like cancer, but like even here we see like those pictures make it very simple to understand why this is cancer is actually bad. Okay, right. Okay, why does this gives you a better informed decision will lead to this public process, right? We have more people caring about, more industry being caring about, and now we're just saying like we give you an awesome an informed decision, and we think like people who see this and make some research, they're probably more likely to engage with this conflict, and they're less likely to crowd it out because the government doesn't say like, well, you're a bad person. They're just selling you in a very neutral scale. Like that's what's happening. And we see like, and that's why the all organic movement, the vegetarian movement, it's very different if I'm going as a person to somebody and saying like, yeah, you suck what you're doing, because then I'm like represented as an organic person being a sucker. But now it's the government who's sort of like giving you just a neutral information. We sort of think this process is less more likely to engage, right? So okay, what have we brought you as a benefit here? As first of all, our side, my partner, has finally shown you why this image is so important. Second of all, we have explicitly understood how this actually leads to a better informed decision and how this leads to a better, so people can make their own moral choices, because that's very personal. And second of all, we get a better public discussion, which is in very often countries, besides like Western Europe, desperately needed. Therefore, we beg you to propose.
My speech, I have to say, for me as a vegetarian, this is definitely the biggest challenge that I've been facing with. And I want to remember this because the debate is being recorded. Now, may I start? Thank you. Closing government never engages with our point that if their premises are correct, then animal rights are important. They come up with this analogy where human rights are slightly more important, therefore if I'm starving in Africa, I'm going to go and shoot an animal. That's not the case of opening government. That's not the debate we're debating today. Why? We're talking about people going to the store and buying meat, which means we're talking either about lower middle class, higher middle class, rich people. Those are the people whose lives aren't jeopardized unless they eat meat. Therefore, they do not necessarily need meat. They can also go to the store and buy something else. Therefore, that is not a particular situation where you have to wait out, are human rights more important than animal rights or the other way around? That is why they completely do not engage with our idea. Why, if we should care about animal rights, then why is one animal more important than the other one? And why is it okay to kill 100 animals instead of 200 animals? And why don't we value every single animal in the same way? Because that is what rights means. That regardless who you are, how do you behave, what do you do in your life, you have rights. Government never responds to that. Second thing about cigarettes. People didn't stop smoking because they saw bad pictures of packages of cigarettes. They quit smoking because cigarettes prices went up. Therefore, it was much harder for them to afford them. That is the reason why teenagers also don't smoke. Not because they seen the picture. But let's also talk about informing. One, based on the picture, you have no idea how that animal was slaughtered. You just see a picture, you get no explanation. Two, let me tell you also one more thing. Much bigger suffer actually happens during the life of that animal. For example, chickens. They live for 2 months in a space where light is constantly on, so they can eat more than regular, so they can be fed sooner and get bigger sooner, so they can be slaughtered and then eaten. You don't see that from the picture. But what's the problem? You will never be incentivized to sit down, open any website that can give you an info. Why? Because you feel that someone is imposing a moral choice without giving you an explanation of why that moral choice is a good one. Especially once when we live in a society where we cannot make a consensus whether or not is it okay to eat animals, to use animals for our own means. What do you get for my summary speech? A, why we think that generally animal rights are less important than human rights, and B, what do we think that is going to happen with people once this kind of thing gets imposed? No. Animal rights. So animals aren't really subjects of rights in a way that humans are. Why? Rights demand two stuff. A, your awareness that you are a subject of right, meaning that you can fight for your own rights. But two, that you're going to respect other people's or beings' rights and therefore be capable to have your right being taken away from you if you decide to do the same. Why did we create rights in the first place? A, to protect us, and B, to impose sanctions if someone decides to harm us. There is no way for you to punish an animal because you cannot explain to an animal that it's wrong to kill another human being or that it's right to kill another human being. In that particular situation, you have an equation to make where humans are aware of their rights, capable to defend their own rights, capable to jeopardize other people's rights, and we have also jails who are capable to take rights away from humans and punish them for deciding to break other people's rights. Those kind of things you cannot do. Marginal cases, my partner already explained. Babies will grow up and people who are suffering from diseases, euthanasia sometimes must be okay. Why is this important in our case? Because we sometimes think that we as humans, as someone who is obviously dominant, someone who is obviously a subject of rights, do have the right to, once we find them necessary, use animals. A, medications. There is no way for you to be completely sure if medications are going to be successful in humans, but you're much more certain once you previously test them on, once you previously test them on animals. Two, my partner pointed out already, when it comes to food, some people simply cannot afford vegetarian food. Therefore, you have to buy meat because you actually need it. Since we proved that human rights are more important than animal rights, we think that this kind of choice is justified. We think that also the entire case of government falls down when they make a premise that animals have rights, but never engage with the idea that if they have rights, then why do we weight animals of one animal's life more than the other animal's right? We think that if they say that animals have rights, every being is then unique, and every animal is in that case unique, which means that you cannot justify that the fact that less people will buy meat now, that's kind of okay, because that doesn't stand with the premise on which both teams of government base their own case. No. Second, how this influence some people. A, people already know what happens with animals. Maybe not that much, but you know that when you eat chicken, that chicken used to have a smile, and now it doesn't anymore. It's not like, wow, eureka, I found out something I didn't know. But second thing, people will get used to it. We saw it on many examples. cigarettes. Number 2, how many terrible pictures of people who were drunk and died you have with motto, don't drink and drive? People still do it. People get used to those kind of things. Number 3, we all know how Apple products are being created. We constantly read it in newspapers. We still buy it because we prefer to have our laptops and tablets and all those kind of things rather than people. No, thank you. Thirdly, we also aware of the fact how humans suffer in Africa, but we do not really identify with that. What's the problem? Same thing is going to happen with animals. We're not going to care about it more than we do care right now. We're just going to keep on living with the same premise we have. Opening.
Okay, you never justified this patriarchal approach of preventing information from people in order for them to actually
Yeah. I'm getting to that. Do you know why people are not going to read information about it? Because you will feel like someone made you make a choice you don't find being rational for yourself. So someone arbitrarily came and told you, I'm a bigger moral person because I don't eat meat. Why? Do we think that animals have bigger rights than humans? Affairs obviously proven not. Do we have a consensus in the society that this is a moral decision? No. Do you have a lot of arguments to support that vegetarianism that can be quite clear to every single person? Probably not. What do you feel? You feel that someone imposed a choice for you. And in that particular situation, you're even less interested into realizing why should you make that choice, because you don't feel like you are making the choice. You feel like someone else is making a choice for you or making you make that choice. That is the thing that de-incentivizes people to think about should or shouldn't I eat meat. Also, we think that we are going to create false idea that we have fixed something by putting these pictures. A, they're still going to be killed. B, they will still live a very painful life before they die. And C, as my partner explained, we're just going to find the way to kill them that looks nicer, such as electrical shocks, but in fact is more painful because lasts 15 to 20 minutes rather than slaughter that lasts 1 or 2 seconds. Exactly my point. But thirdly, we still will not have the understanding of the problem. Why? Firstly, people sometimes aren't even capable to understand suffering of other people because they didn't feel that suffering. They didn't see that someone suffering. That is the thing. When you see that 20,000 people died somewhere else, it's just the statistics for you that it's kind of bad. You can identify only with one particular case when you know the background. Once you see the entire the picture, you don't even get the background, you don't get the identity of that animal, you don't get anything. Also, it's even harder for people to identify with animals because it's generally harder for you to identify with someone you cannot in any way bond with because we're so different. Because we think that A, sometimes we have rights to use animals for our own means. B, that they've never proven why are animals so important and why should we kill some of them and some of them not. And C, because people in the end won't care, and some of them who would care probably won't because they feel like they've been imposed a choice. We're very proud to oppose.